So what have you been doing since mid-May? Sorry to ask you to.
I was working until the 31st of July. I told my company, basically when I was accepted into IESE, the next day I told them that I was going to do the MBA program. So I gave them some time to find a replacement. They asked me for 2 months. It was a small company, so they had to find the right person. Gave them 2 months in advance, and until the 31st of July I was working. And 2 weeks ago I got to Barcelona, started the MBA a week and a half ago.
So after that, you took what? You took like 3 weeks off? Huh? 3 weeks off?
3 weeks off. I was traveling in August.
Yeah.
Around Spain mostly, also Italy.
Okay.
And at the 26th of August, I got to Barcelona.
Okay, 26th of August. Alors, you know Barcelona, of course. You yourself, you're from Spain. So you arrived 2 weeks ago. So what have you been doing these last 2 weeks? Have you just relocated, or did you have your first class? What have you been doing the last 2 weeks?
So it was actually very, very rushed for me, because most of the students, especially the international ones, get to Barcelona a few weeks before, because they go through the business Spanish program, which is, classes in IESE are in English, but a lot of students that come since they move to Spain, they like to use the opportunity to also learn Spanish. So IESE offers that opportunity, so they get there a few weeks before. They have more time to settle into Barcelona. I came straight for orientation, which is a 4-day schedule before classes start. So I had to go through orientation, and then this week on Wednesday we started classes.
Okay, so basically you mean that the first 10 days it's orientation, huh?
First 4 days are orientation, but if you do the business Spanish program, that's I think 2 weeks before orientation.
And some Spanish, and then before that some Spanish. So
Spanish,
yeah. So imagine that I talk to you, I invite you in June 2024. Okay. So what is your plan? How is the year going to be? Or let's say even in 1 year. Imagine that we have another seminar in September 24. So what will you do in this year?
So the first year at the IESE is, well, I can't speak about the whole experience because I just got here, but as I understand it, is that the first year at the IESE is super intense, focused mainly on academics and also finding your summer job, your summer internship. So that's my task for next year. And in 1 year's time, I should be, have just finished my summer internship, which I think is 2 or 3 months. So yeah, my job during the next few months is to
study, find a summer internship, and complete the summer internship. That will probably give you a job. Yeah.
Find the right summer internship for me, which is a process.
Okay. So of course, alors basically, Kevin is there. Huh? It's through Kevin that we met. Alors Kevin, do you want to say hi to our friend, to Benjamin, and you have something you have a question to ask him? Kevin, you're on mute. Kevin, you're on mute. Kevin, you're on mute. Yeah, great.
Hello, Benjamin.
Hello.
Good. So, just to give you a little background here, Dr. Ubed works a lot with a lot of my students once they finish the GMAT and they get a great score, and they just start deciding which program to apply to and how to craft the essays and the letters of recommendation, all the choosing schools, asking about admission rounds, scholarships. Remember, for the GMAT, I'm your man. Good. Any questions you have about the GMAT, you ask me. But once you get your GMAT score, then you can work with Dr. Ubed.
Yeah. That's the way we work, and we have a very successful collaboration. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So basically, alors, so Kevin, you remember Benjamin because he was your private student. I think that he took group classes and private courses because he was very much in a hurry. Now, tell me, Benjamin, why have you decided to take private courses with Kevin in addition to the group classes?
So I decided to do classes with Kevin. Sorry, I decided to do classes with Kevin because I decided quite late to do the MBA. So I had to take I had a very short amount of time to prepare for the GMAT. So actually I spoke to IESE, and it was IESE, I spoke to the admissions department at IESE, and it was them that recommended me to find a tutor, and I think they actually recommended me to do it with Kevin. So I had to get it done in a couple of months, and I needed some help to make sure.
To take on the test, yeah, because you have to know that the director of recruitment in Spain, I forgot his name, is a former Kevin student. So he went himself to IESE. I don't know what is his name, Benjamin, the person in charge.
I think you're thinking about Alberto.
Alberto. So Alberto was your student, okay? And so me, when I was at the IESE last time, I spoke about you, but it was in April, May. And they told me that if you get a good GMAT, and after that I sent them an email saying that you got 710, and they were of course very impressed. Alors basically, Kevin, you know that Benjamin, he got a score that even students from ICAI, even engineers from ICAI or from Autonoma or from Carlos Tresei don't get. What is your secret, my friend, to bring someone like Benjamin, who is not an engineer, okay, who is a social scientist, you say social science, to 710? What is your secret?
Well,
can you
let me see here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you. Yeah.
Good. As you can see from my video, my month in Crete has done wonders for me. I've come back. I feel 30 years younger. I even have hair, as you can see in the middle. No, that's actually one of my students. And down at the corner. I would say, at least for the quant part, I think we run a really ambitious, generous quant course with lots of hours and tackling difficult questions together in class. And once they have a good framework, they can work through the official guide questions really, really well, understanding the different ways of doing questions. And also, I would say, the review that we do after the simulations, each one, making sure that not only did you got the questions right, but you got the questions right the right way, the efficient way. Now, of course, on exam day, you get credit for getting the question right. But when you do a simulation, don't be satisfied if you got a question right, but it took you 5 minutes. We got to find out how to do that question quickly and see whether you can master it. And of course, we have a lot of extra resources in terms of practice questions.
Yeah. So for information, Kevin is the best GMAT teacher in Europe, for sure. If we even work on project together. So because I decided to work with him because he's simply the best. And so of course, what you get from him is very valuable. And probably you'll find out that what you get from him is valuable once you take the test. And maybe I know preparing the GMAT is not too much fun, so it may be a bit boring. But at the end, you say it was worth investing my time into this class. Now, yes, basically, so what is quite impressive, you see, Kevin, is that yes, Benjamin got a 710, okay, which is a score that normally people with the type of background do not get. Of course, Benjamin is a very intelligent guy. He was my student. I can see he grasps things well. But you, Benjamin, how did you do, for instance, for the math part? Because the math may not be easy for you. How did you manage to have a good score? Because I don't think that you got a 49, but what score did you get in math, Benjamin?
I was in the 42 percentile, so not a very high score, but I was coming from a pretty low score. So I was naturally good at the verbal section. so I didn't have to prepare that. I took a few practice tests, and I realized that that was something that I didn't have to work on. But math, I was really, really low at. And I can't remember exactly what I got in my first practice test, but significantly lower than 42. So what I had to do is just focus on the math. And I got it to a level that, combining it with the verbal part, the overall score was very high, because I had a really high score in the verbal.
Okay, but at the same time, getting 710 when you start with a less than 40 on the GMAT is very impressive. By the way, Kevin, it will be probably more difficult now to get that, because there are two quantitative and analytical sections down the GMAT. Okay, so people who have difficulties with math, they're going to have a real disadvantage, the new GMAT, because you have two analytical and math section and only one verbal now, so it's going to affect the score.
Well, this new section, data insights, it's a hybrid between verbal and quant.
Some questions, it's analytical. So, but someone who's good at math, it will be
really quant, and there are many in the middle.
Yeah. But it makes the test more difficult for people who have a strong verbal background, for sure, because now you have two sections. The balance is not the same. Now, tell me, sorry to be rude, okay, but Jamie, you know that I love IESE, but someone like you, who has the background that you have, and you're going to tell us more about yourself soon, okay? Why haven't you tried INSEAD? It's a one-year program. You live in Spain, so you'd have probably studied in Singapore, which would have been great for you, okay? Of course, since IESE is an outstanding program, it's 2 years, okay? Shorter, okay? Anyway, what you get in an MBA in 1 year, you can get it, have the feeling, okay? Myself, when I was at Normal Sup, I went to business school, and the thing that I could have completed that, but I completed in 2 years, could have been completed in 1 year. So why IESE, and why haven't you tried other schools?
So it's actually pretty simple for me. I wanted to stay in Spain because I had studied 8 years outside of Spain between school and university. So I didn't want to, and I had come back after university to work in Spain. I was settled in Madrid for the last 4 years working, and I didn't want to leave Spain again to study, because I had done that for many years. If I was going to leave Spain again, I wanted it to be for work. So my objective was to stay here, and actually I wanted to stay in Madrid because I wanted to make it as easy as possible for me. But once I started informing myself and having conversations with different people in the business world, I realized that probably the best business school in Spain was IESE. So that's what made me take the decision. For IESE, it was the best program probably in Spain. Obviously, there are other very good programs also, especially IE and ESADE are also good programs. But after having a few conversations, I came to the conclusion that IESE was the best one. But that's my personal circumstances. I understand that in other circumstances, some people might be looking to go abroad and have that international experience. At the IESE, most of the students are not Spanish. I think there is 14-15% of Spanish students. The rest are from other countries. So clearly, having that international experience is a big part of or going abroad is a big part of the MBA experience for many people. It just wasn't what I was looking for.
Yes, you have to see that the student I meet through Kevin, the student that are from Kay Velasquez, from GMAT class, it's true that we have many, I would say that many come from ICADE or ICAI. You agree, Kevin? ICADE, ICAI. Some from IESE.
Just anybody from ICADE, ICAI?
Yeah. ICADE, ICAI, AI, ESADE, CUNEF, and some from Autonoma, University of Navarra, Carlos III, this type of schools. Okay. And of course, most of them, they want to study abroad after that. And we have a lot coming from the MBB, because Kevin has an incredible reputation in Spain. we have a lot of students from then BCG, McKinsey. And by the way, I have about 10 now that I'm preparing. And of course, all the students that are from Ben, BCG, McKinsey, they apply to Harvard, Wharton, Stanford, and they take INSEAD as a backup.
Right. Oh, and I totally understand that. I have a
Yeah,
friend.
because with your background, you could have been accepted even to Columbia, probably. During term, for me, they would have taken you. But of course, I understand the logic, and probably you tell us more about yourself. But you have to say, look, I already have my network in Spain, and I want to use my network in Spain. I come from a family that is somehow recognized in Spain. So you say to yourself, maybe if I go to the US or to the UK, I would not have the same level of background. Is it the thing as well, Benjamin? Huh?
Of network, you said, right?
Yeah, the network. Sorry, what you just say. Yeah. So basically, the network that you have in Spain is invaluable, and probably with IESE, you can build on this network, and probably rebuild the network in the US won't be the same. Probably. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the advantages of going to doing the MBA in your own country is that you develop a local network.
Yeah,
I think that's great. Actually, there's 350 students in the class that I just entered, and around 60 or nearly 60 are Spanish. And that's actually a higher number that I was expecting. I thought it was going to be even lower, but I'm happy that it's 55, 60 students, because that allows me to also meet people here that it's after the MBA, it's the most likely that I will encounter in the rest of my life.
How many students are in your class?
Well, the whole class, which is the class of 2025, is I think 350 from nearly 60 countries.
Wow.
Which is, insane.
Now, just out of curiosity, what schools are you applying to? If you had to consider three admissions, you got three offers, what would be your three schools? Rocio?
INSEAD, Bocconi, and if we are dreaming, Columbia.
And Columbia.
But MBA, Rocio, it will be
MBA.
So it's very strange because Bocconi is a good school, but of course, Bocconi, Columbia, there's a big gap. Huh?
Yeah, I really like the fashion industry, so.
Okay. Yeah, but
Now,
you see,
what about you?
I'm planning on doing my MBA quite yet, so I really don't know what to tell you.
But you'll do an MBA eventually, or you do a master's of
management.
I want to do a master's in finance.
A master's in
but I want
finance.
to do it abroad, so they're asking me for the GMAT, and then in a couple of years' time, I think 5 years is the validity of the GMAT. So before that, I'm doing MBA.
An MBA. So basically, Sergio,
what about you?
It would be Columbia, LBS, and if possible Harvard, but I don't know.
All right. And you, Jose?
It will be rather IESE, LBS, INSEAD.
For an
Okay.
MBA or for a master's in management, master's of finance?
MBA.
MBA.
so I think that I can say that some of the people that we have here are working consulting, and some who are very. I have a student, for instance, very nice guy, very intelligent guy, that who is preparing with me. We have prepared Stanford, Harvard, MIT, and Columbia. And he told me that even if he gets MIT and Columbia, he would not go here. Just wants Harvard and Stanford. So basically, yes, usually people working in consulting are very ambitious, and they're right, of course. Basically, anyway, we'll have an info session, Kevin, maybe next time, later next week, with the evening students and the weekend students. But yes, that's something we'll discuss with you, the school that you want to, the school, the score that you need. For instance, Benjamin got a 710. Of course, if you want to apply to Harvard, Wharton, Stanford, this is basically maybe not even enough. Of course, if your target school is INSEAD or LBS, it's more than enough. So, for instance, when I talk about Benjamin to IESE, they told me that with the 650, they will still take him. Okay, that's what. But Benjamin is a perfectionist. He wanted the top score. Now, Benjamin, I wrote a post about you, and I said that you're an unconventional student. So, can you please introduce yourself, and then people will understand that you're not the typical MBA applicant.
Sure. So I'm Benjamin. They call me Benji, but I'm from Madrid, Spain, and I studied my undergraduate in the US, in Michigan, the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, which actually has a pretty good business school as well, the Ross School of Business. But I didn't join the business school. I studied public policy. That was my undergraduate. I was in the School of Public Policy, which was a combination mostly of political science and some economics. And then I came back to work in Madrid, and I was working in the public affairs sector. So we were doing consulting, but in the regulatory and political world. So we advised companies to basically protect their interests in regulatory and political processes. And that's what I was mostly doing for the last 4 years in 2 different companies. I started in a really big company called Llorente y Cuenca, which is probably the biggest lobbying consulting firm in Spain. Then I actually went to work for a political party in Madrid. I did that for 1 year. I was working in El Partido Popular because the job, my job in consulting was, we had a lot of contact with politicians and a lot of meetings. So I met a lot of politicians, and at one point somebody offered me to go work for the party, which was really exciting for me because as somebody that had studied public policy and that had always been interested in that world, to actually have the experience of getting to know a political party from the inside was really cool. But I only did that for a year because I also wasn't sure about how much of a career it was, and I was really young. Well, I was, I think, 25 when I joined, or 20, yeah, something like that. So I only did that for a year, and then I joined a very small firm that was founded in September 2021 in the lobbying world. Actually, it was founded by 2 civil servants, longtime civil servants that had left the government. They had a long experience in the government, and they founded this firm. And I was the first person that they hired. And I was working for them for a year and a half until July of this year. And by the time I left, we were 10 people in the company. So it grew in the last year and a half, and it was actually really difficult to leave for me because part of the reason I had joined is because of the possibility of growing with the company and getting in early, and I really believed in my bosses. I thought they were going to create something good. So it was really difficult to take the decision to leave at that moment, and it took a lot of conversations. But at the end, I decided that if I was going to do the MBA, it was the right time to do it.
Yeah. Yes, of course, it's important. And of course, so what I want to understand is that Benjamin, he went for an MBA, and his background is unconventional. Okay, so I know that all the students that I have with you, Kevin, and all the students that have in Paris have the same background. So I would say that 80% have studied business before, okay, and they want to do an extra business class, okay, and the others are engineers, okay. And of course, it makes a lot of sense when you're engineer. Of course, when you're like you, Benjamin, it makes even more sense because basically what you're going to learn is completely different from what you have already learned before, okay. So in that case, of course, it's not the case of the people that we have here today. The GMAT is very important because it's okay, we can take him, but we want a good GMAT to see if he can make it. Huh? Okay. Basically, by the way, I have, but me, I didn't do an MBA, but basically, I have somehow similar background as you because I was trained as a professor in social science, and then I did also social science at Sciences Po Paris before going to the US. So basically, I understand your background, and I perfectly understand that with the type of background that you have, you can perfectly go for
in a rush to leave.
You bring a lot. See, for instance, it was funny because I was talking to my students in sometimes I talk to my students and I mention about the bricks, about whatever, which will have an impact on business. And I'm very surprised to know that they know very little. So it's very important that you have someone in the group who understands about politics, about geopolitics, about what is going on in the world and how it can affect business. According to you, Benjamin, why has IESE taken you? Why they would have taken you even with the 600 probably? Why?
So at the IESE, at least, I'm not sure if in other business schools, I'm sure it's similar, but definitely at the IESE, one of the things that they try to do is to create really diverse teams, because they divide the whole first year, they out of the 350, they divided in 5 classes, and out of those 5 classes, they create, I don't know, dozens of teams of 8 or 9 people, and you're working in the same team for the whole year. And so what they try to do is to create really diverse teams.
Yeah.
In every sense. Geographically, we are in my team of 9, there is a person each person is from a different country, different region of the world, but also in terms of professional background and academic background. So they try to have in each team different abilities, different perspectives, and I think that indeed, my background, I'm definitely in the minority. I found already 1 or 2 people that have a similar background to me, but out of 350, there's very few. Most people have a background in business or in engineering, for sure.
Yeah. By the way, I find it stupid. You agree, Benjamin, that people who have this type of background, they don't go to business schools. Probably there are 2 reasons. First of all, they come from jobs that are not very well paid, so it's difficult for them to make maybe a loan to go for an MBA. There is this problem. Okay. And second of all, many believe that it's a sort of self-censorship, and they don't believe they will make it. Okay. So of course you were promised for a great career in this business because you're an intelligent guy, you have the network, etc. When we prepared the application, you told me about everything, about your background, about your implication. What makes you believe? So what is your post MBA program, and why do you think that you need an MBA?
Sorry, Ben, I hate to butt in, but a couple of my students have to leave pretty soon. So any questions you have for Dr. Hubert or for Benjamin about the application process, about a particular program?
Anyway, we'll have a session next week, Kevin. I will have a one-on-one more like next week. We will take one-on-one, but you have questions to ask to Benjamin. Hello? Do you have questions to ask to Benjamin?
Nice we had all our classes online, so I didn't recognize him.
Really? You never recognize? You didn't?
Well, but right.
Even though you're based in,
we had all our classes online, right?
We never met in person. We did
right.
By the way,
I always thought of you as Benji, not Benjamin. So I said the name doesn't ring a bell. It's Benji, of course.
Yeah, Benjamin. But I prefer to call people by their full name. Do you have any question to ask to Benjamin? Do you have any question to ask him?
I have one, but it's related to where you were going. I think I'm curious about the post-MBA plans, if there are any already, because I find that the most difficult thing to prepare or to before you do the MBA. I see people that use the MBA for deciding and seeing what's going on in the world and then choosing, but some of them actually have a clear plan on what to do afterwards and how to use the MBA for that. So I don't know if that's your case, Benjamin.
Sure. So, look, I think that when you're doing the application, this is one of the questions they ask you. And I understand that in the interviews or the essays, you have to give an answer and you probably want to express a vision or some kind of plan. But the reality is that once you get here, you realize that most people, the majority, get to the MBA pretty open to what to different possibilities, and that's in part why they're doing an MBA, because in some way or another, they're looking for a change in their careers. Here, there's like they teach you can do a single switch, a double switch, or a triple switch. The triple switch is like function in a change in your function in your sector and in your geography. So most people are definitely doing 1, 2, or 3 switches. That's are looking to do that. I probably do not want to continue in the policy world, but the thing is that I have to find right now a balance between leveraging my past experience in the policy world and also doing the change that I want to do. So it's a balance in that sense. I'm really interested in the energy sector, for example. I'd be right now I'm looking at that and seeing what possibilities there are for me, and also what kind of role I can have in a company, whether it's in strategy or operations. But I do want to probably transition from the pure policy aspect, and that's why I'm doing an MBA.
Yeah. You see, for instance, what I want to tell you is that I have 2 types of students. I will say that I have students who want to use the MBA to go 1 or 2 steps further in their field. Okay, so want to have the credibility to have a senior management position in the field where they have already worked. Okay, typically, for instance, the McKinsey student that I want to go to partnership. Someone wants to do a complete break. I have someone in data science who now work in finance. Okay, so some want a break. But what I want to say, what is funny, I have a lot of McKinsey students this year. And what I've noticed is that you also have people who come from a traditional background and want to do something non-traditional after the MBA. Okay, so basically it's a mix. And what is very important with the MBA is you're going to have 2 years to think about what you want to do. And it's not just about planning, it's about developing a network and finding what you really want to do in life. Okay, and of course the MBA will have a big impact if it allows you to do so, to say, okay, now I know what I want to do for the next 10 years. You agree, Benjamin? Huh?
Yeah, and look, the truth is that it's not easy, because when you get to IESE, at least in the first 2 weeks, they bombard you with information, and you start seeing that there are so many opportunities, and there are so many different routes that suddenly open up for you.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people, even already in these 2 weeks, that came with a preconceived idea, they are already opening to new possibilities that they hadn't considered. And that's because suddenly you're at a place like IESE and you realize that you have that there are many opportunities, and whether it's like finance or consulting or in industry or in startups, entrepreneurship, suddenly this whole world becomes open to you, and a lot of these things you might be interested in more than one of these routes. So the difficult thing is actually to take the right decision.
So what is true, you see, is that 99% of the IESE student anyway will ask for a meeting with consulting companies, all of them. Okay, because it's prestigious, they teach you a lot, it's very well paid. So anyway, even if Benjamin wants to go into energy sector, he will try BCG, McKinsey. He will try them, because just for the purpose of getting an interview, of being tested, and then probably little by little he will focus on a different field. Huh? Okay. So basically, I was talking to INSEAD, and they told me that INSEAD, for instance, in front-end law, they have 800 students. Okay, except for those they have about 100 who are sponsored. But they told me that the 700 others have an interview in consulting. Okay, even though they have not expressed that they want to work in consulting, but they try. Okay, by the way, it's a good way, by the way, to learn. Huh?
Yeah,
they go to the first round, second round, the third round, whatever. And after that, they pick up something that is more in line maybe with what they want. But they all want to work in consulting. Okay. Finance is more complicated, because if you don't have the background, it's difficult to cut consulting as long as you have studied general management. And then they will see. And of course, what happens is that when you go into this type of schools, you change your mind. for sure you change your mind. Okay, and it is normal. So you can say, well, this guy is going to be a member of different clubs, whatever, he would change his mind. And then comes the issue of the money and the prestige. Okay, at the end, you want a good salary. By the way, people always ask you how much you make. When I talk to my students, they say, I make 100, 120, etc. You can expect to get 80,000 after IESE if you work in consulting. If you go to the US, the double. And the prestige, there's a competition. Okay, and people have a look at that. Yeah, I got McKinsey series 120. Okay. It's like if you play football, one goes to Valencia and the other one goes to the Real de Madrid. The guy who goes to consulting or investment banking plays for the Real Madrid. You agree? Okay, so that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah.
Sorry, if I may, just one more question on this. I see, looking at the brochures, that almost like 80% of people from the MBAs just end up at consulting or finance. So it kind of looks like a platform for people to get into these jobs. So it's either people that get sponsorship from consulting companies and they go back to consulting, or people from industry or whatever and go to consulting. So I'm a consultant.
Those who come from consulting, they go back to consulting because they owe money. It's very rare they don't go back to consulting, so you go back to consulting, okay?
Yeah.
But and the others, because it's a good way to learn. Of course, they will not stay there for sure. It's very unlikely they will not stay more than 2-3 years there, okay? Mm-hmm. But it's a good. I'll give you an example. I have a guy. Imagine I had a guy who was working in the automotive industry. He went to Wharton. After that, he worked 5 years for McKinsey, and now he's a general manager of Olympique de Lyon, which is a bit like which is one of the best football clubs. Okay, you see that the guy, if he had not been to Wharton and to McKinsey, he would have been hired as a general manager of Olympique de Lyon. No, because they saw Wharton and McKinsey, they took him. Okay, so basically they know that if you put this type of brands on your CV, it helps a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It helps a lot. Okay. Sorry, but people, if you don't have this brand in life, you can be very talented. Nobody will ask you to come. Huh? It's unfortunate, but it is like this. But of course, there are other ways around. Fortunately, there are other ways around. Anyway, we know that people who achieve the best are not people who go in consulting, are people who become entrepreneurs and who build companies that can be worth between 50 million to $10 billion. Okay, that's the one who will achieve the best. Okay, but there are very few entrepreneurs. I think from what I see from Benjamin, according to me, one day will be an entrepreneur. Okay, because he comes from a family of entrepreneurs. Okay, probably will be one. But of course, meanwhile, you will learn, Benjamin. Meanwhile, you're going to learn, develop your network, see what you like. But I'm sure that ultimately, the objective is to be an entrepreneur. No? Probably.
Yeah. I'm very sorry, I have to leave.
Yeah, okay. Have a good day. I will come to Madrid. I will meet you anyway. Yeah, what do you think, Benjamin? Benji?
No, that about the point that he made. It's true that by what I'm saying already, that the easiest, well, yes, in a way, the easiest thing to do at the IESE is go into consulting or finance in the sense that it's the most structured, organized path. But I don't think it's 80% of the people that do it. I think it's a lot. There's a lot more variety than that. A lot of people are doing things after that are not in consulting or finance. So maybe I would say 50% are doing consulting or finance. There's a lot of people that go into all kinds of sectors, including startups.
Okay. Yes, of course. So basically, the reason why they go there, because usually you have a lot of debts. This company pay well. They give you a signing bonus.
Yeah.
That's why people there. And most of the people they come from the upper middle class. That their parents help them, but they don't give them 200,000 euros. So they need to pay back. And if you go into consulting, you know that.
The salary is good. But what I meant by that, it's the easiest thing to do after. It's because they're the companies that come to recruit the most on campus. Yeah. Every year they take X amount of people for the internship, X amount of people for a full-time job, and that they have that structured. Whilst in other sectors you might have to do more personal networking and reaching out more.
Yeah, exactly. But that's but anyway, you would be a counterexample. But what I want to tell you is that I have students who have studied I don't know, political science, whatever, who now work in consulting as well or do something else. So anyway, if IESE has decided to take you, they know that you can achieve anyway. So Benjamin, I will be at the IESE. I have other students. We have a lunch. I will tell you when I come. I will invite you for lunch in the canteen. It's, you know, that's a place that I love. I will probably interview Paula Morin. And thank you very much for your time. I hope that you're going to enjoy Barcelona as well this weekend, even though you must be very busy. You seem to be rested. And thank you again, Benjamin, for your time. And
thank you, Beth, and let's see if I see you in Barcelona.
Yeah, of course, I will see you in Barcelona. I will take pictures. Have a good day. Bye-bye, Benjamin. Bye-bye.